I don't know, Pop. All I know is I just can't seem to squeeze a paycheck the same way I used to. There are more homeless people on the street, and there are times when I'm afraid to let my wife walk.
Nobody saw it coming. What looked like just another goofy family sitcom turned out to be one of the rawest, realest things ever shown on TV.
How could you not vote? This is a very important election.
Last month, a scene in the show Rock wasn't just acting. It was straight up truth, and it hit deep. What seemed like harmless laughs was actually a bold, unfiltered spotlight on the harsh reality of inequality in America.
There's a plan in every state for the 17-year-old who hasn't even been born yet. The prison is being planned. You know, and the person hasn't been born yet.
The folks at Fox were shook. Their easygoing sitcom had quietly morphed into a weekly megaphone for unapologetic Black awareness, and execs behind the scenes were scrambling. But before we dive into the storm it caused, you gotta hear about the man behind it all, because his life story is wilder than any script. Charles S. Dutton didn't just act tough, he was tough. From being labeled a killer to becoming a powerful voice in Hollywood, his life reads like a movie, except every part of it was real. Born in 1951 in Baltimore, his childhood was trapped in a brutal loop: poverty, violence, and a legal system that tossed young men away instead of helping them rise. They couldn't stop staring at this one kid, Charles Dutton. The prison system he got caught up in was already turning into the monster we know today.
There's a kid in the Coleman Correctional Federal System outside of Orlando, the largest federal prison in the country, federal prison. I kept staring at this kid.
Mass incarceration. But back in the 70s, there were still a few cracks of hope, a few programs trying to give people a second shot. Locked up in solitary for 3 long days, Dutton stumbled across something that would flip his whole world upside down: an old anthology of Black playwrights. That moment, it saved his life. He later said, "When I got out of isolation the last time, I knew what I wanted to do." Still locked up, he pulled together 10 or 11 guys and kicked off a small drama group. I directed Day of Absence, had no clue what I was doing, but I played the lead. This wasn't some random prison activity, it was way bigger than that. Dutton had found his voice deep inside a place meant to silence him forever. He was surrounded by men the system had already thrown away, men they said were beyond fixing. The warden gave him one condition: he could keep the drama group alive only if he got his GED and signed up for college courses. And he did. By 1976, after serving 7.5 years, Dutton walked out not just free, but transformed. By the time he stepped out of prison, Dutton wasn't just free, he was focused. He'd earned his GED, knocked out a 2-year associate degree, and more than anything, he'd locked in on his purpose. While most ex-cons were getting shut down at job interviews or pushing carts in grocery stores, Dutton was leveling up. He enrolled at Towson State University to chase down a bachelor's degree with fire in his chest. But things really took off in 1980 when he got into the elite Yale School of Drama. That's where everything shifted again. At Yale, Dutton crossed paths with legendary playwright August Wilson, who quickly became both mentor and creative partner. Wilson saw something real in Dutton, something raw and powerful. Not the fake Hollywood version of Black life, but the real thing. No stereotypes, no watering down. Dutton hit Broadway like a storm in 1984, making his debut in Wilson's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And the reviews? Straight fire. The New York Times said, "It's no small feat that Mr. Dutton's levy matches her blow for blow. This young actor brings the audience to a deathly silence." He was only a year out of Yale and already shaking up the scene. He landed a Tony nomination for that role, and another in 1990 for The Piano Lesson. Dutton wasn't just acting, he was making history. By the early 90s, Charles Dutton had locked in his spot as one of the most respected names in American theater. He wasn't just acting, he was commanding the stage with realness no one could fake. Broadway critics saw the artistry and heart he brought to every role. But when Hollywood came knocking, they saw something else entirely. To TV executives, Dutton wasn't a revolutionary. They saw dollar signs and target audiences. While the theater world praised his raw truth, network bosses were thinking ratings and market reach. That disconnect, it would shape everything that came next. HBO Independent Productions hit him up with an offer, his own sitcom. But their pitch, they called it a black version of The Honeymooners. Dutton wasn't about to play into that. He said yes, but on his terms. He demanded full control over casting and brought in real ones from his stage days, including the piano lesson crew, Carl Gordon and Rocky Carroll. He also took charge of the storylines and made it crystal clear. No kids in the show. As he told the Baltimore Sun, Cosby had 55,000 of them, and I didn't want an Urkel situation. And here's the realest move. Dutton and co-creator Stan Daniels went straight to Baltimore to talk with actual sanitation workers. They weren't chasing scripts, they were chasing truth. One guy stood out from the bunch, John Wood. His story hit so hard, he ended up becoming the blueprint for Rock Emerson himself. That level of real-life inspiration, it gave the show a raw edge no sitcom had touched. But here's the twist. That same realness would also be what tore the whole thing down. When Rock hit Fox on August 25th, 1991 at 8:30 p.m., it looked just like another family-friendly sitcom. Harmless, right? Not even close. Charles Rock Emerson, played by Dutton, was a no-nonsense Baltimore garbage man. He lived with his strong-willed wife, Eleanor, a nurse, his retired pops, Andrew, and his always scheming brother, Joey. The setup felt cozy and perfect for advertisers. But Dutton had hidden something explosive in that safe little package: truth. Unlike the glossy, feel-good black sitcoms floating in middle-class fantasy, Rock kept it grounded, right in the gritty streets of working-class Baltimore. There was no laugh track covering up real-life pain. The show wasn't scared to get messy. From the jump, episodes touched on topics that made Fox execs sweat. They wanted smiles and product placement, but Dutton was serving real talk, and the industry didn't know how to handle it. Rock didn't just touch on tough topics, it dove straight into them. Gang violence, drug addiction, unemployment, and deep-rooted racism weren't just background noise. They were front and center in the lives of the characters. And Dutton, he tackled it all with sharp intelligence and unshakable pride. No cheap laughs, no watered-down versions to make white audiences feel cozy. Then came season 2, and things got even bolder. The whole season was performed live, every episode, no retakes, no edits, just raw, real acting from a cast trained for the stage. And suddenly, the network couldn't hit pause or cut anything they found too risky. It was revolutionary, but it also had Fox executives sweating bullets. This wasn't your average sitcom. This was bold, unfiltered truth on national TV. Dutton was using Rock to do something rare, give a voice to millions of working-class Americans, folks who'd never been heard on primetime. The biggest shock came when Rock broke down the 1992 presidential election on air, torn between candidates who all seemed ready to ignore Black communities. It was fearless, honest, and exactly the kind of political heat that made sponsors back away fast. It didn't take long before Fox execs started breathing down Dutton's neck. They wanted the show to chill out, tone down the heat, less real talk, more goofy storylines. Basically, they wanted Rock to play it safe, but Dutton wasn't built for that. The pressure only got worse in August 1992 when Martin hit the scene. Martin Lawrence came through with big laughs, wild characters, and zero controversy. Exactly the kind of comedy Fox felt comfortable pushing. It was loud, it was silly, and it never poked at real issues like race or class. Martin was a hit, and for the suits at Fox, that show became their new blueprint. They didn't want truth, they wanted laughs. They wanted Rock to turn into background noise. Entertainment that just happened to have Black faces, but none of the weight, none of the message. But Dutton wasn't folding. He told the Baltimore Sun straight up, networks love to reward Black actors who play buffoons, while silencing the ones trying to bring real awareness into Black sitcoms. This wasn't just about scripts or scenes, this was a direct shot at a whole system that chose stereotypes over substance every time. By season 2, the heat behind the scenes was boiling over. Dutton was going head-to-head with the show's mostly white writing team, and it wasn't quiet. He called them out for being tone deaf to real Black experiences, especially when it came to racial storylines. And he didn't just complain, he took control, rewriting episodes himself to make sure the truth wasn't lost in translation. The writers didn't like that. They started labeling Dutton as difficult, the same go-to excuse that always seems to pop up when Black performers push back or demand creative control. That label, it's been used for years to silence powerful voices. Season 3 rolled in with changes that scream power struggle. The show got kicked off its Sunday night slot and dropped into Tuesdays. Gone was the live format that had made rock stand out. No more raw energy, no more unfiltered moments. It was a quiet shift, but the message was loud. Dutton did get promoted to executive producer, which gave him more control, but also more blame. The more rock pushed the envelope, the more the network wanted to duck the fallout. And that Tuesday night slot, Fox claimed it was a fresh opportunity, but insiders knew better. Sunday was prime time gold. Tuesday was where they sent shows to slowly disappear, away from headlines, away from heat, and away from the audience that still cared. By season 3, rock wasn't just a sitcom anymore. It had turned into something the networks had never seen before. Week after week, it gave working-class Black voices a serious platform on primetime TV. And that shift, it sent Fox executives into panic mode. They were fine with diversity, as long as it didn't push buttons or shake the table. But rock, it wasn't here to play it safe. The show started shining a bright light on power, race, and class in ways that made the industry very uncomfortable. This wasn't some accidental change either. Dutton had spent years behind bars, diving deep into Black liberation theology and radical politics. He brought all of that to the screen. His character wasn't just a trash man, he was a deep thinker stuck in a job society didn't respect. And through rock, Dutton made sure that experience got heard. Instead of the usual sitcom nonsense, rock featured episodes where Black characters talked real politics with sharp minds, not punchlines. They weren't passive victims. They weren't comic relief. They were breaking down elections and calling out the system for what it was. When Rock tackled the 1992 presidential race, it hit a nerve. The character voiced the frustration of millions of Black voters who felt iced out, choosing between candidates that all seemed the same and none of them on their side. That kind of bold political commentary, it crossed the line, the unwritten line, because in TV land, Black characters could joke, could struggle, even could save the day, but what they couldn't do was critique white power in a smart, unapologetic way, especially not while talking about cops, drugs, and the economy on network TV. By season 3, Rock wasn't just hinting at injustice, it was spelling it out. The show didn't treat racism, poverty, or police brutality as random isolated problems. It exposed them as part of a bigger system, a system designed to keep certain people down, and that message, it made the network nervous. Dutton's bold storytelling suggested something Fox didn't want to hear, that America's racial issues weren't rare mistakes, they were built into the system. That kind of truth was explosive, and Fox execs started scrambling to shut it down. They pushed back hard, demanding that rock get lighter and more fun. Translation, less truth, less politics, less talk that might make white viewers squirm and grab the remote. Their notes came filled with coded language, make it more relatable, less serious. Basically, erase the fire that made it real. But Dutton didn't budge. He wasn't playing the game. He told the Orlando Sentinel that Fox's attitude changed the moment he started rewriting race-focused episodes. He wanted accuracy. The mostly white writers, not so much, they clashed big time. Dutton called them out for being disconnected from Black realities, and that fight exposed the deep divide. This wasn't just creative tension, it was a showdown between honest storytelling and a system desperate to stay comfortable. At the heart of the chaos was a war between authentic Black storytelling and the cold, calculated demands of network television. And the final straw, it came with the season 3 finale, Terrence Got His Gun, which aired in May 1994. This episode wasn't just another story arc, it was a direct follow-up to a hard-hitting one from January that tackled gun violence in Black neighborhoods. But Rock didn't treat the violence like just another plot twist or entertainment. It showed it for what it really was, a heartbreaking result of broken systems, ignored communities, and years of failed policy. And then came the moment that changed everything. Dutton broke the fourth wall. He looked right into the camera, right at young Black viewers, and dropped a truth bomb that shook the room. Our own kids are doing what 300 years of slavery couldn't do, what the Ku Klux Klan couldn't do. They're threatening our spirit, breaking our hearts, and destroying us from within. That moment, that was the nightmare scenario for network executives. Dutton had taken their primetime slot and turned it into a straight-up political wake-up call. Linking modern pain to centuries of oppression live on national TV, he turned a sitcom into a weapon for truth, a voice for Black awareness, and the network, they couldn't handle it. Rock wasn't canceled because it flopped. It was cut because it stepped outside the lines, just like too many other Black shows that dared to tell the truth instead of playing it safe. It wasn't just business, it was about keeping control over who gets to speak and how loud. In 1994, Fox did a full sweep, and Rock wasn't the only one cut. South Central, In Living Color, and The Sinbad Show all got the axe too. Just like that, most of the real unfiltered Black voices were wiped clean from the network's lineup. Fox tried to play it cool, blaming low ratings. They pointed to Rock ranking 117th out of 124 shows, but that number didn't tell the whole story. The show held steady with Black viewers and was critically praised, nominated for Emmys, and winning NAACP Image Awards. So what was the real issue? Advertisers didn't like the heat. The problem wasn't that people weren't watching, it's that the wrong people were uncomfortable. The political edge, the real talk, it scared off big sponsors. Charles Dutton saw it all coming. He told the Orlando Sentinel that Fox had already given up on Rock long before the final episode aired. The network never promoted the show like they did Melrose Place or Married with Children, Dutton said. And he was right. While Fox threw big money behind shows centered on white characters, Rock was left to survive on scraps. They set it up to fail, then pointed to the fall as proof it didn't belong. It was a clear, cold strategy. Starve the show of support, then blame the numbers. A self-fulfilling prophecy dressed up as business. The backlash was fast and loud. As soon as Rock was canceled, 29 members of the Congressional Black Caucus stepped in, urging Fox to keep the show alive. They knew what it meant. Rock wasn't just another sitcom, it was one of a kind, and its disappearance left a massive hole on TV. Petitions flooded in from across the country. Fans weren't just disappointed, they were outraged. But Fox didn't flinch. They stayed silent, ignoring every plea. That silence, it said everything. Fox didn't see Rock as valuable anymore. Not because no one was watching, but because too many people were watching for the wrong reasons. The show had become a magnet for deep conversations about media, race, and power, conversations that scared networks stiff. Behind the scenes, folks in the industry knew what was up. Rock's cancellation wasn't just about numbers, it was a warning. A loud, clear message to every other Black creator: stay in the box or we'll shut it down. Push too far, you're out. What happened to Rock proved one brutal truth. Network TV had no room for art that told the truth and made people think. If it didn't fit the formula, it was gone. But the real gut punch came 5 months later, when BET aired a lost episode, The Rock That Dreams Are Made Of. In it, Dutton stood alone on a dark stage, a single spotlight on him. He gave a 6-minute monologue, breaking the fourth wall and speaking straight from the heart about the characters, the dream, and how it all ended. It was powerful, it was personal, and it exposed everything they tried to silence. People close to the production said Dutton's final performance was Tony-worthy, a raw, emotional masterpiece. But Fox, they flat out refused to air the episode. No press release, no explanation, just silence. Behind closed doors, one insider spilled the truth. The network thought the episode was too downbeat and the subject matter a little touchy for advertisers. Translation, it was too real, too powerful, too honest. That final monologue, that spotlight moment, it was everything Fox wanted to bury. Rock wasn't just a sitcom anymore. It had become something deeper, intelligent, fearless, politically sharp. It put art before profit, truth before comfort. And for a major network, that was just too much. By pulling the plug on that final episode, Fox didn't just cancel a show, they made it clear they'd rather erase it completely than let it end on its terms. But the erasure didn't stop there. Fox went even further, making sure Rock had little to no afterlife in syndication. While other canceled shows got reruns and second chances, Rock was ghosted, shut out, forgotten, pushed out of TV history. It wasn't a mistake, it was intentional. Fox didn't just cancel a show, they tried to erase the proof that authentic Black storytelling, rooted in political truth, could actually thrive on network television. That silence, that absence, it was the loudest message of all. By erasing Rock from the airwaves, Fox wasn't just canceling a show, they were controlling the story. They protected the lie that bold, political Black storytelling couldn't succeed on mainstream TV. And by making it vanish, they made sure up-and-coming creators wouldn't have a blueprint to follow. What happened to Rock didn't just affect Charles S. Dutton. It sent shockwaves across the whole industry. It set the standard for how networks would deal with Black shows that didn't play by the rules. First, quietly sabotage it, then rewrite the history like it never had a chance. It was a formula: build pressure behind the scenes, cut promotion, cancel it early, and act like the audience was never there. And sadly, it worked. But here's the wild part. Dutton saw it coming. Just like he called out the prison system for targeting Black youth before they were even born, he saw how Hollywood was doing the same thing, shaping which Black stories could be told and which ones had to disappear. The same industry that said it loved diversity was already laying down rules. Keep it funny, keep it shallow, keep it safe, or don't show up at all. And while Rock was being torn down, Dutton's personal world was falling apart too. In 1994, he filed for divorce from actress Debbie Morgan. In a painful moment of honesty, he told her, "I never could have made you happy because I'm not worth it to be anybody's husband." Behind the strength was a man carrying it all, on and off the screen. The damage didn't stop at Dutton's career. It hit his personal life hard. The constant battles, the industry backlash, the feeling of being shut out, it all fed into a deep sense of worthlessness that clashed with everything he had achieved artistically. But Dutton didn't quit. He kept pushing and proved that real talent and unshakable integrity could still rise, even in the face of blacklisting. In 2000, he directed The Corner for HBO and won an Emmy for Outstanding Directing. It was a powerful miniseries that explored the same exact Baltimore streets that Rock had once brought to life. But this time, the story wasn't considered too political. On HBO, it was prestige TV. That shift exposed the truth. Network television wasn't about content, it was about control. The same stories Fox ran from were now being celebrated, just because they aired on premium cable, where the audience was smaller, whiter, wealthier, and advertisers weren't in charge. The Corner's success helped launch The Wire, created by David Simon, who was inspired after seeing Dutton's work. And The Wire became one of the most praised series in TV history, digging into the same social issues that once got Rock silenced. But on HBO, these stories could exist, safely tucked away from mainstream pressure. Meanwhile, the Rock family never fully recovered. The cast scattered, and over the years, several passed away. Carl Gordon, the heart of the show, who played Rock's father, died in 2010. Rock may have been buried, but its message never stopped echoing. Heavy D, who brought warmth and humor to the role of Calvin Hendricks, passed away in 2011. Rosalind Cash, who played Eleanor's strong-willed mother, had died back in 1995, just a year after Rock was canceled. But these weren't just personal losses, they marked something bigger. Their deaths symbolized the fading of a rare moment in television history, a moment when Black performers finally had control over their own stories. For a brief time, they weren't stereotypes or sidekicks. They were full, complex, and real. And when they passed, they took with them living proof of what had been possible. Then came the final heartbreak, the real man behind Rock. John Wood, a Baltimore sanitation worker whose strength and integrity inspired the character of Rock Emerson, died in 2013. He was 80 years old when a street altercation turned tragic. He was punched, fell, hit his head on the pavement, and never got back up. It was a gut-wrenching ending. The man whose quiet dignity helped shape a groundbreaking TV role became a victim of the very violence the show tried to confront. His death brought Rock's story full circle. The show had existed to honor men like him, Black, working class, often unseen. It told America these lives matter, these stories count, and their voices deserve to be heard. But as time passed, it became painfully clear those voices were being silenced once again. John Wood's tragic death wasn't just another loss. It was a brutal reminder of how society continues to fail the very people Rock was made to honor. The show fought to spotlight everyday Black lives with dignity and depth, and yet in the end, even the man who inspired it became another victim of the same violence and neglect it tried to expose. Looking back, Charles S. Dutton didn't run from the fallout. He admitted he wasn't always easy to work with. He told the Washington Post that he could be impatient, arrogant, and even reckless in how he dealt with Fox executives, but when it came to what he fought for, he had no regrets. In 73 or 74 episodes of Rock, I don't think there was a moment of buffoonery, Dutton said proudly. I look at the reruns now on BET and I'm still pretty proud. That pride, it was bigger than ratings or network approval. It came from knowing he never sold out. He never watered it down. He stood his ground even when the industry tried to silence him. But the fight isn't over. What happened to Rock wasn't a one-time thing. It set the tone for how the industry still treats Black creators today. The pressure to lighten it up, cut the politics, and just entertain hasn't gone away. If you tell the truth too loud, they'll still try to shut the whole thing down, just like they did to Rock. But even in its short run, Rock proved something powerful. Real Black storytelling could thrive when creators held the reins. It didn't need to be watered down, sugar-coated, or made safe to succeed. The show's legacy isn't defined by its cancellation. It's defined by what it dared to do. It showed that working-class Black consciousness could break through on mainstream television. When artists refused to play by the industry's rules, incredible things happened. Charles S. Dutton did just that. He went from a prison cell to Yale School of Drama to creating one of the boldest shows network TV had ever seen. His journey was living proof that redemption isn't just possible, it's powerful, even in a system built to block it. But the way the industry crushed Rock, that said it all. They weren't just uncomfortable with the message, they were terrified of what Dutton represented. A man who beat the odds, told the truth, and refused to be boxed in. The real tragedy isn't that Rock was canceled, it's that the cancellation worked. It scared off others from trying something similar. For years, Black voices with something real to say were pushed out, until whole generations didn't even know what had been lost. But for 72 unforgettable episodes, Charles Rock Emerson stood tall, a proud, sharp, working-class Black man speaking truth on national TV. He wasn't a joke, he wasn't a stereotype, he was real and they couldn't handle it. Charles Rock Emerson wasn't just a character, he was a symbol. He embodied everything the entertainment industry feared about real, unapologetic Black representation, and everything that audiences deserved but were constantly denied. The cancellation of Rock wasn't just a business decision, it was a calculated move to wipe out a vision of Black humanity that challenged the status quo. And the way they did it, that became the blueprint: silence the voices, kill the momentum, and erase the evidence. For years to come, those same tactics would be used again and again to keep things exactly as they are. But Rock left its mark, and they can't erase that.